a modern paradox. Why GDP growth doesn't always mean true progress. Take Ireland in 2024, for example. They boasted a staggering 70% rise in GDP per capita over the last decade, tripling most developed nations. An economic miracle, right? Not quite. The truth is, the average Irish citizen didn't suddenly become 70% richer. This phenomenal growth was real, but it wasn't theirs. Let's explore why our traditional scoreboard, GDP, is no longer telling the full story. For most of history, GDP was our go-to for success. Higher GDP meant more jobs, more money, more progress. But in today's world, where profits can move faster than people, that scoreboard has become distorted. In Ireland's case, global tech giants like Apple, Google, and Meta shifted their profits there, leveraging lower taxes. So Ireland's GDP soared, not because it produced more, but because it hosted more numbers. This is known as profit shifting, and it quietly distorts our measure of prosperity. Here's the deeper paradox. As GDP climbs, quality of life doesn't always follow. This is where the real disconnect lies. Ask the average worker in nations with strong GDP growth, like Poland, Turkey, or Portugal, if they feel wealthier, and many will tell you no. This is because GDP counts everything, even if it benefits only a few. GDP adds oil spills through cleanup costs, war spending, and corporate profits routed through tax havens. But it never adds unpaid care, community, or mental well-being, the true wealth of societies. It adds, but never subtracts the negative impacts. Economic growth used to mean collective progress, but now, in many countries, it simply reflects the speed of capital relocation. This is a crucial shift in understanding. We've built an economy that measures the motion of money, not the meaning of it. This disconnect leads to surprising outcomes in real-world scenarios. That's why countries like Ireland, despite high GDP, still grapple with housing crises and inequality. And why Canada, despite strong population growth, shows only 1% GDP per capita growth, a statistical penalty for having more humans, not less prosperity. Economists are finally catching up to what philosophers have long known. Not all growth is good, and not all stagnation is failure. This realization is leading to new ways of evaluating a nation's health, focusing on a more holistic view of prosperity. Some nations are now developing well-being indexes, measuring health, environment, equality, and happiness, alongside economic output. Because GDP tells us how big the pie is, not how it's shared, or whether it's nourishing anyone. If you want to understand the real health of a country, ask simpler questions. How long do its citizens live? How safe do they feel walking home? How many can rest without anxiety? That's what real wealth looks like: time, trust, and tranquility. Things GDP still can't count. So when you see a green arrow pointing up next to a country's name, don't assume it's thriving. It might just be breathing in borrowed air. Because the true economy isn't just what a nation makes, it's what it makes possible for its people.